grew up in. What does happen to a young person when everything that is reality changes abruptly? And that happened in the 30s in Europe. The entire structure, the social structure, the political structure, the economic structure, everything fell apart. And in chaos, there is always the opportunity for opportunists in the global structure, and that was what happened in the 30s. So you know that, you are studying, there are archives, you can verify what the information you are getting. I'm a witness who was even younger than you are right now. And I was caught being Jewish. I was outlawed. I didn't exist for 4 years. If they would have caught me, I wouldn't be standing in front of you. So that was war that hit a 15-year-old. I was 15 when the Nazi armies invaded the place where I was born, which is southeast Europe, the backwater of Europe, the Balkan Peninsula. And we were just talking on the way. That backwater of Europe that was very proud in its achievements was part, really, of Greece, where the entire Western European education really took off from. Because the beginning was in Mesopotamia, which nowadays is really struggling to survive with their cultural heritage. So everything is changing constantly, that's for sure. What are your questions for someone who was 15 in World War II? You studied about. You can even, in a way, identify with a high school 15-year-old. It's just a couple of years before, I presume you are 17, 18, 16. Okay. I was in that time non-existent, in hiding in order to survive, hiding by myself. What are your questions for someone who was in a situation like that?
How did you eat?
I beg your pardon?
How did you eat if you were hiding by yourself, like when you were with your parents?
I found shelter in a small farm, and I worked as a farmhand. So I worked for my upkeep and for very little food indeed, because there was no food. It was very rationed. I didn't exist. I didn't have a ration card. But I survived. The people who gave me shelter knew I was Jewish. They risked their safety to save me. And I worked for them. So that was the possibility.
Do
Yes?
you have any other family
No, it's my age. I'm 83.
Do you have any other family members that survived the Holocaust?
Only my mother survived. But we were separated. We didn't have a constant contact. I knew where she was. She survived. She wasn't born Jewish. She converted to Judaism in World War I, 1914, 1918. She was young at that time. So she had 2 world wars in her lifetime. So did my father. This is how they met. My father was Jewish, my mother converted, and I had a sister and grandmother and the more extended family, cousins, aunts, so forth. Only my mother and I survived. Yes? Oh, thank you.
Did you have to disguise yourself when you
I'm sorry?
Did you have to disguise yourself when you went outside? Like, did you have to put on different types of clothes and stuff?
I didn't disguise myself. I left my home with a backpack, and very soon I looked the part. I played because I didn't have clothes. I had to make my own clothes. I even made my own shoes during the war because my shoes fell apart and I could not buy another pair of shoes, neither would anybody give me a pair. Okay? So I learned many skills. The disguise, the farmers who hid me suggested that I should not speak because my language was language of an educated youngster. And I would have given myself away by talking a literary language. So I played a deaf mute outside the farm. That was a very good disguise.
So you basically didn't talk to people for a long time?
For a very long time. At that age, it's a very long time, 4 years. And it gave me, though, the opportunity to think, to, in a way, transform what I had accumulated thus far, having read a lot because I loved to read, and I'll come back to that, how that helped me really start my first survival decision. I'm talking about contemplating. There is no negative time. I do not consider my playing deaf mute a negative time because if we suppress one of our senses, nature compensates for that lack of talking. Going back to reading, that helped me make the decision to leave my home. I was a voracious reader, so I read how in Africa